Good evening. Now I call Property Management Committee to order. First order of business is approval of the minutes. Do I hear a motion on that?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Got a motion?
I will second.
We got a second. Any discussion on the minutes? If not, all those in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay. First, we have donation of 1 acre of delinquent tax property to the National Park Service.
Okay, let me see what we got put on here. Okay. You know that every year we have delinquent tax properties and we do our best to dispose of these and sell these properties. If you'll look at your iPads, you'll see there's one parcel there. This is on the old Nashville Highway, right? And you can see that that little parcel that's outlined in blue is basically already surrounded by property owned by the National Park Service. So we thought it would be a reasonable approach to see if they wanted that property. In other words, it's doesn't have any improvements on it that's of any value, and it might be difficult for anyone else to really determine that they want it. So I'm recommending, after we've talked to Jeff Davidson's been managing all these delinquent properties, I think if you would consent, it's about, it's a small little parcel. Let me see, how many acres did we say that was? I don't know.
75.5 by 357.
That's a half acre, right?
Yeah. 1 acre.
Yeah, well, the property says 1 acre, but 75 times 3,000 is about 22,000 feet, which is about a half acre.
Okay.
All right, so anyway,
357.
that's just for your consideration. I mean, I think it has limited value. The delinquent taxes on that, I think I wrote that down. There's about $3,600 worth of delinquent taxes is how much is out there. That if we sell it, we would hope somebody would give at least that much, so we'd come out at least collecting our taxes. Now we've also we've approached the National Park Service people to see if they have an interest, and you see that little letter that we received back from the Chief of Land Resources for the Southeast region. So they have all kinds of hoops they have to jump through to even accept this property, but we can't really start this discussion until you guys sort of say you think it's something that you reasonably will agree with.
Would they be willing to bear all the burden of any hazardous materials checking and all that and everything, not costing the county anything, to get it free and clear to just get it?
We have asked them that very question, because if you read that third paragraph, it says the land must be free and clear of hazardous materials by some environmental site assessment. We don't think anything's there, but they haven't said whether they'll pay for that or not, quite honestly, Mr. Johnson, but we've already asked them that question. But we will, if it's going to be any major cost, we don't want to, if we want them to do that for us. We don't think we should have to pay that if they want to receive it free gratis, you might say.
Can't even give something away.
We can't give it something away without costing us money.
Cost
We don't like that
cost
into
of the taxpayers, you know.
That's right. If that turns out not to be the case, we wouldn't do this, but and we can make that a condition of this gift, whatever cost it takes to clean up whatever material is there, or even investigate it, is up to them if they choose to do that.
Well, I move that we accept that proposal from the mayor with those contingencies.
Second.
Motion and second. Any more discussion? If not, I guess we'll call the roll on this one. Give it some value.
Commissioner Cook?
Yes.
Commissioner Gooch?
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Commissioner Kaplan?
Yes.
Commissioner Kusch?
Yes.
Commissioner McAdoo?
Yes. Okay. Next, purchase of house on 0.7 acres located at 4573 Single Road.
Okay, you'll remember that we have purchased about 22 acres there on the corner of Florence Road and Singer Road. And also we purchased that lot there that had the double wide trailer on it. If you remember, it's about an acre we got there as well. In this whole parcel then, we still don't have that little 0.7 of an acre right in the middle there on Singer Road, as you can see. So I thought we sort of needed that even when we bought this whole tract, but we didn't think that the owner would sell that property. Since then, we found out that they will entertain selling that piece of property. I think long term, we don't have to have it. We've got enough property to do what we want to, but that little knot's there, and with someone living there is always going to be an impediment. They're not going to be happy with what we may do or not do there, and it sort of makes it difficult for us to develop our master plan without having to work around that little knots there. So I'm recommending that you give permission for us to try to see if we can't buy that piece of property, and allow me to negotiate that basically at a price not to exceed $200,000, and that subject to us confirming and getting a phase 1 environmental study done. There is real probability, since all of this other 22 acres, as you remember, got declared because of not what happened on this property, but what happened east of this property. We had to enter into this brownfield agreement with the state. So it is likely that even though there's nothing on this site, we may have to, since it's adjacent to what our other site, we may have to add an addendum in addition to what we've already got done on the previous brownfield study agreement. So it may take a while, even if they agree to this, for us to get the state to navigate that bit of a mess, as you well know, how long it took previously.
I see where it says market appraised, 144,000.
That's the property assessor's value. We're not going to get, we can't get it. They're really concerned about it. It's a nice, it was built in 1995, and it's what, 17 or 1,800 feet. And they can't replace, they can't go somewhere else with the same house they got at that value. So it's going to take more to get it.
Now the barn is already in the property we own, right? That's behind it?
Yeah, that little building you see outside that little line, yeah, that's already a little building of some sort there, yes.
Maybe that's where they put all the bad stuff. Oh.
Well, the bad stuff's underground. Whatever, it's not, it's very little there. I think 5 or 10 years from now, the county would certainly wish we'd gone ahead and gotten that. I think now's our best opportunity.
How many square feet is that house?
I think it says 1,800.
So you want authorization at up to 200
Yes,
or under, so.
200 max, right?
Yeah, I think that's what it's going to take.
And having to work around that property is probably going to cost us plenty down the road.
Yeah, of interest, certainly.
I make a motion to approve mayor's recommendation.
Got a motion to approve?
Second.
Second. Any discussion?
They would be responsible for anything as far as the hazardous material things?
No, we'll be
You
responsible.
will have to do that?
But I mean, it's a low risk. We've already had all this other stuff on the 22 acres already evaluated, and it turned out to be low risk there, but you just have to jump through the hoops. And this property is adjacent, so we probably will have to jump through those same hoops, but it won't be as difficult. We'll just add a little something to what we've already got in place for the other 22 acres.
Unlike anything in that little.
No, sir, I don't think so.
Crop of anyway.
We would obviously use the same people that did the work on the 22
Yes, sir.
acres for the.
And we're going to do the phase 1 environmental in it anyway, regardless. We have to do that.
I'll give you a blue light special since you already did the other, Rick.
Well, they'll be reasonable. They are very reasonable.
You never know until you ask.
Yeah. Where do you think this 200,000 come from? Would it come from
General fund.
general fund?
Yes, sir.
We have no money nowhere else. We don't have no money in the.
Well, solid waste,
account.
they got some money,
Solid
but
waste.
we want the county on this. We don't want it to just be specifically designated for solid waste.
Oh, okay, so you want flexibility?
Just like we did on the other property,
Okay.
the 22 acres.
Any more discussion? Okay, call roll.
Commissioner Cook?
Yes.
Commissioner Gooch?
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Commissioner Kaplan?
Yes.
Commissioner Kusch?
Yes.
Commissioner McAdoo?
Yes. Okay, judicial building, parking garage, construction update.
You folks probably drive by that about every few days or every week or so. You can see what's happening there. So all I did this time is give you an update on the actual monies we've already spent. The garage, we've already spent about 70% of the monies that were appropriated for that garage construction, and it's more than 70% complete. So it's, in all probability, they'll be finished by May the 1st. I think the road work over there may last longer. We really don't necessarily want to start using that garage so they get that road work sort of cleaned up and repaved. We don't want to track up and mess up the thing to start with. So we'll have to work together on that when we get through with that garage. Really the main thing they lack is pouring some concrete in the ground floor there as you come into the building, and some other site work. But it's pretty much finished for the most part. And you can see what's happening on the judicial building. We've spent about 35% of the total money has already been expended, and we're going to be in there. So they tell us it'll be finished sometime probably in April the 1st of 2018, but we probably won't actually be in there until a month or two after that, just the transition part of that. If you look on the north face of the back side of that building, all that prefabricated brick and concrete is up there. And they've started on the west side now putting that up, so that's moved. Every trade you can imagine is in the building, as far as HVAC, mechanical, plumbing, electrical, walls, everything. Sheetrock is in there. I hadn't been in there, but they're probably putting up sheetrock on some of those levels. Every month, the maintenance people are going to go in there and just stay in touch. If any of you guys want to go over there on those designated days and walk around with Ben and his crew, you're invited. But so, do you have any questions on it? I mean, nothing is turned up that's unexpected. We're within budget. We still have a bit of contingency money left that we haven't had to touch, and hope we don't, but we don't know yet. We're not through, but they're not finding anything unexpected, which is a very good thing.
I was over there looking at it earlier before the meeting, and seems like they're just going gangbusters. I mean, you can just about see it grow, so to speak.
No question about that.
You're coming along great. Something that the citizens of Rutherford County are going to be proud of.
So if you want to go over there anytime and visit, you're certainly welcome. Just call me so we can sort of schedule it with them. It's a lot of activity inside that building now.
Okay, any more questions on the project? Okay, ambulance station construction update.
Okay, all of you know that we were delayed on that project, starting that construction work, in that we had to move. There was a major power source there that went underground right underneath where we're going to build the building. That had to come out, and they had to put a new pole and a transformer out. So we really lost 2 or 3 months right there waiting on all that to actually happen before the contractor could even begin work. But if you've been by there in the last 2 or 3 weeks, they've really taken off. And the block walls are up now on the base where the ambulances are going to be housed, and there appears they're ready to pour the slab there for where the living spaces and the offices are going to be. So they are really getting going finally. So that's about the report on that. But it's a small building, and they're serious about moving on, it appears right now.
Any more questions on it? Okay, refurbishing of use of the current judicial building.
Okay, I want to say I probably used a poor choice of words on that agenda item. I want it to be clear that we're not here to discuss now what we're going to do with the building and how we're going to repurpose it. If you remember, we issued a request for qualifications. I had to change it from a request for proposal because architects and engineers, you can't get proposals that include money. So you have to select a candidate to do this, and then you have to sit down with them and talk about the scope of things and what they're going to do. And then you can talk about a range of money and dollars, and then you can actually iterate and come back and get permission to spend X dollars to do this job, all right? And we gave this over to, I don't know, 5 or 6 people for requests for qualifications. Only one person responded, and that's Grisham and Smith Architects, and which is not a bad thing in that they're the ones that's architects on what we're currently doing, and they know more about what we have in place now and what we might want to consider more likely than anyone else. So it's important, I think, that we, and I haven't had time quite to sit down with these folks and talk to them about it, so I just want to tell you where we are, and I'm going to sit down with them and review their scope of work and see what they're proposing to charge for this. They're talking about maybe taking 6 months to do this, which may add up to a fair amount of money. I don't know yet. But I want to tell you what we want to do and see if that's still a plan that's acceptable for you guys. I think it's important that we have a very thorough, balanced, objective review of this, and independent of maybe my opinion or anybody else's opinion, without really thoroughly vetting all this. So that's what this is all about, and I want to tell you that's where we are. It's really just an update on where we are, and without objection, we'll get serious about seeing when we can sit down with these folks and really determine what they're going to charge us for this. I'll bring that back to this committee before we make it. I'll have to bring it back to you and give you a recommendation on, hopefully give you a recommendation on something I think is practical, cost-wise. So next month, I would bring back that recommendation on what we've come together on as something that we both hopefully think is acceptable. And then you can tell me if you agree or not, and we'll go from there.
The magnitude of this, you think a month's gonna give you enough time? Because this is
Yeah,
gonna like a one.
Well, the conversation on what we're going to do to actually, they're going to do in the scope of that work, I don't think that's a problem. We're not going to have the work done. We're just going to get to a point where they can start.
I think work on the current judicial building will probably be affected by the new judicial building, if they're gonna meet their target or whatnot. Even though they said it's coming 2018, but we don't have to be in no big rush.
So we got time. I
We
mean,
got
that's the reason I
time.
haven't really pushed it
So
in.
we can
So
have
if we-
several discussions on it if we so
If you need to, that's right. So it will probably be the end of this year before they got through with all this
Yeah.
review and evaluation and investigation and recommendation and iteration.
They have a plan to put in effect.
We'd have a plan that we'd be ready to act on when we get ready, after we get moved.
It would be a knee-jerk reaction. So
That's right. So we got time to do this thoughtfully and carefully.
But the study is just to see what the building could be used for.
It's to come through, look at all of our departments and offices and determine some alternatives and which one we think is the best repurposing of the existing property once we move. And we got a lot of interested, vested people that will need an opportunity to give their input.
I think we got some of the follow-up in response to your choice of words there, with the building. And I think it's important for people to understand that step one is just the project understanding of everything. I mean, this involves historic courthouse to Goldstein building. It's 309 West Main Street, Historic Health Department, and 319 North Maple. Before I think what you're saying is before we decide what we're gonna do with that building, we gotta know how we're gonna incorporate all 5 of those facilities, which is a huge logistical choice that we wanna make sure make the most wise decision, so. This is just bringing that to the table, and so these are they're the only ones who raised their hand and said.
The only one that sent a proposal in, which is a good proposal. I mean, they are a very competent group of people. I mean, they've done a super job with the garage and the judicial building.
Any more discussion? If not, relocation of Rockville Recycling Center.
Okay. Here we go again on this one. We had this discussion once already, and I'll just update some of you that might have forgotten. The Rockville Convenience Center, Recycling Center out there on, it's on the old Highway 99, you might say, on a little bitty small parcel of property there, and we don't have compactors there, we don't have all the containers there, it's just inadequate for our needs. And so, the community folks out there, and Mr. Reed, who is your commissioner out there, now again has suggested we really need to move that recycling center. All right, we've got property right across the road, and I think that I gave you a little picture of that. That's a little bit hard for you to read there, but if you can see the Rockville Road and the Versailles Road, on that little very bottom piece of there, that little triangle there is where the existing center is. That's not showing on this little drawing you've got here. But just directly across the road there, we own that piece of property that we obtained through a bit of a planning disagreement some years ago. So there's enough room over there just to move across the road and actually put, you know, a well-positioned, laid-out recycling center. So we had it in the budget for solid waste before. Now, we haven't talked to Public Works about this, and we do at least need to run this through them as well, I think. But this little drawing was done some time ago, quite honestly, and more than a year ago, but we pulled back because on where you see that says existing building to be removed, you see that little note on that drawing there? Mm-hmm. There's a little building there, a little one-room building that once upon a time was a store. And this goes back a number of years. And there is a believing that that little store has some historical significance. If one looks at it just without knowing anything about history, it doesn't have any appearance of having any real value. And it's been sitting there for many years.
It sits on the corner.
Unattended. It sits almost out in the street there, in the road there.
Kind of on a corner or something.
So that building either has to be moved, or has to be relocated, or has to be taken down. There has been some effort by some of the community historical activists out there to come up with a plan. And that's the reason we backed off last time, to give these folks enough time to see what they might propose. Well, we don't have a plan, and this has been way over a year, and it's time for us to do something. So this is still a little bit of a difficulty to know what to do with that. We could put out a public notice that we're interested in any proposal one might have to relocate that little building, to renovate that little building, or to, if we get no response, then we could decide we just want to take the little building down. I mean, so I guess I want a bit of discussion and a bit of flexibility on what you think I should do about that little building. It's the only impediment to doing what we want to do here. We need this recycling center because what we got is just inadequate to accommodate people to get in there and leave all the things they need to leave.
How vocal is the community about it?
Well, it's one or two people have had strong feelings about this.
Tell them to come get it.
Yeah, what does the commissioner say
Well,
about it?
Well, the commissioner says it's time for us to move on and do something in the little building.
He don't have any suggestions?
We've been patient, hoping something would develop, and it hasn't happened, okay? So we've been trying to just sit back and see if we couldn't let some normal things constructively take place, but that it doesn't appear it's going to, all right?
Run a public notice, cause we need to move on.
When was that little building? Was there a cabinet shop or something in that little building at one time? a long
No,
time
I think
ago?
that's across the street, maybe, Mr.
The one with the
Johnson.
roof over the front porch there?
Yes, yes, a little front porch,
Okay.
just, it's a little building
Oh, yeah.
out on the right there, sitting almost out in the old
General
91.
store or something.
They can move it over into their community for a
Well, we
museum.
could, if some of these folks, and one of them did say at one time he might move it on his property, which is nearby. So I don't know if you guys would just sort of give me the flexibility of opening it up from a broad perspective to see if we can get any response from the public out there and from these other folks. And if we don't get anything, I think we need to move on.
Been a year.
Mayor, if that building was not there now, when would we like to start scratching dirt to?
As soon as possible. We've got this preliminary drawing. We really want to go ahead and go a little further with this and identify the electrical and stuff that needs to be done here so we can actually get some pricing, some bids on this to see what it's really going to cost to put a little bit of this infrastructure in.
Okay, so what we're hearing is that a handful of neighbors have said that there is some historic value to this building and that please wait on the demolition, I think is what you've told us. And we have taken a step back for them to do something. And at this point, nothing has been done. Perhaps no proof has been brought forth that there actually is any historic value to this. So I think the right thing to do, common sense would say, all right, we post in the paper that in, pick a number, 30
90 days.
30 days, 60 days,
Hey, give them at least 30 days.
yeah, that the county intends to renovate and establish a convenience center at this location. Any interested party that would like to claim this building has that many days to remove it from the property at their expense.
Or to make a proposal that we would agree that, and
Yeah.
then give them another 60 days to move it or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was looking at 90 days max, you know. if you're gonna
Give them 30 days to
give
respond, and then
Yeah.
6 more
we'll
days
see if we
to
get
vote.
responses. I'll bring the responses back and let you be a part of the decision on which response, if any,
Right.
we accept. And you, the commission
Because I
accepts.
would assume, and somebody help me that knows anything about historic buildings, I'm assuming if there's historic value that somebody, do you petition that and then somebody has to agree that yes, there is historic value and they place that on some kind of a list and you can't touch it?
Registered,
Yeah, right? Is that how, anybody out in the audience know that? Is that how that works?
That's
That's how it
something.
works.
And
That's
the other
basically
thing
how
is,
it works.
there is some concern that once you move it from this location, then it's lost some of its historical
Right.
quote value.
Right,
But they had over a year to do that.
right, right. So,
You know.
to me, the time's up.
Yeah, they had over a year,
Yeah.
you know.
So I would extend that for whatever amount of date, Mr. Chairman, you.
Well, why don't you
and the
just
mayor
say,
decide.
we
30.
would, after we give the notice, we would give them 30 days to respond. And once we get the
61.
responses, I'll come back to the property management committee with what we have and see if we can come out with a reasonable approach.
You can move it, push it, drag it, take it down board by board, whatever you want, but it's gonna be gone.
Yeah, and whatever we do, we let that commissioner read, and let him know about it.
Yeah.
Well, we'll keep him informed.
Yeah, keep him.
Okay.
Is that a motion?
We need a motion on that to that effect. All right, okay, put the notice in the paper.
Entertain a motion,
Yeah,
got a
that-
motion, do I
yeah,
hear a
that's
second?
fine.
Second.
I got a second, any more discussion? No more discussion, we better call the roll on this.
Commissioner Cook?
Yes.
Commissioner Gooch?
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Commissioner Kaplan?
Yes.
Commissioner Kusch?
Yes.
Commissioner McAdoo?
Yes. Okay, is there any other business to come before the committee? If not, motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All right.